strange happened on this planet. We call it life. And I dare any person, any of you, to tell me that it isn't the most interesting thing that has ever happened. Thankfully for all of us, it's still happening. It's happening as much, if not more than ever. It's squishy, slippery, and slimy, and sticky, and spiky, and you'll find all the shapes. Moss-shaped, mosquito-shaped, manatee-shaped, U-shaped, and all the sizes too, from tiny to tremendous and everything in between. And biology is the study of this thing we call life. We study biology for a whole bunch of different reasons. From the obvious, like making new medicines, to the not so obvious, like learning how to identify misinformation. And we use biology to describe anything that life does. Quick, are you breathing right now? That is a biological process. Life does a lot of stuff, but it's not so easy to pin down what life is. Like, okay, for sure, that ant is alive. It responds to its environment, like the Crummage aspect, and it must reproduce, based on how many of these ants I see coming right now. But other things respond to their environment too. Like, if that's our definition, is fire alive? Ability to grow, reproduce, and react to inner and outer forces set life apart from non-life. He was off track with some other observations, like he thought that women have fewer teeth than men, and that eels are made of mud. But on the subject of life, he was really on something. Modern-day biologists tend to agree that life involves a state of chemical balance that reproduces and evolves over generations. In fact, that's also the definition that NASA uses should they ever see signs of such a thing beyond Earth. A self-sustaining chemical system capable of evolution. But for now, here on Earth, generations of scientists have developed a list of 7 characteristics that sort the stones, not alive, from the stonefish, definitely alive. We know you're there, stonefish. You can't trick us no matter how good that disguise is. First, living things keep their inner condition. Dog is panting. Our bodies are using 2 different strategies for the same life-sustaining goal, regulating our temperature. Second, living things respond to their environment. That includes dramatics, like when a fast and furious cheetah sprints after a gazelle, or house cats imagining that they're cheetahs, but they're actually batting at houseflies. But it's also the slow motion stuff of the plant world, like the turn of a flower towards the sun, or a vine twisting on a branch. Third, living things reproduce, passing on genetic information to their offspring. And that includes the bouncing baby giraffe who inherited her father's eyelashes and their mother's extra thick tail hair. But it also includes a single-celled yeast splitting in 2, making more of itself in its own image. Oh, Yeasty the 52nd, carrying on the family name. Fourth, living things also grow and develop based on the instructions in their genes. Reading those instructions triggers a tadpole to turn into a frog, or a teenage boy's voice to change. Unfortunately, genes can't prevent those instructions from being read the day before his solo of Oh Holy Night. Terrible timing there, when all in one night your voice goes from Mariah Carey to Barry White. Oh yeah, baby. It's a bit of a mess. Fifth, all living things process energy to do their, well, living things. Like, my body is using nutrients from a Greek salad right now to breathe, pump blood, and talk to you. And all that energy was processed by the living things that supplied my lunch. So this episode of Crash Course is brought to you in part by a lettuce plant, an olive tree, and, oddly enough, the milk of a sheep. Sixth, life is organized, even in living things that seem chaotically arranged to humanize. I'm looking at you, Gladys. Yeah, even those things have a sense of organ structure. Organs and organ systems keep whole organisms functioning. And last on the list, living things have adaptations shaped by a history of evolution. These adaptations are traits that help organisms survive and reproduce. Individuals that survive and reproduce pass on their genes and traits associated with them. That's how the platypus ended up with such a weird, cool, like, take snowflakes. Definitely organized, but they don't process energy. Or think about fire. It grows, but it can't reproduce. are some real edge cases. The gray areas where our definition of what's living and what's not really gets pushed to the limit. Let's head to the thought bubble. Meet the virus. A tiny bundle of genes in a protein jacket, even smaller than a cell. On their own, in their little protein jackets, viruses just kind of hang out. They can't reproduce, they can't grow, they cannot process energy. They don't even regulate themselves, because nothing's really happening. They're like really complicated dust. But when those jackets come off, watch out. Viruses seem wildly alive. Their genetic information replicates. They spread between living things, multiplying to infect other cells. And just like cockroaches, cactuses, and chimpanzees, they evolved. Viruses, like rabies, direct their hosts so convincingly that 19th century scientists thought that they were among the simplest forms of life. But today, most biologists would say viruses aren't alive. And I'd like to emphasize most. Instead, viruses sit alongside life. In a way, they borrow life.
A Nelly, tanto Babaçu, minha amiga, minha amada, tá aqui no livro. A Manzara, nossa diretora comercial aqui, também Manzar Férez, aqui da Globo. E o orgulho, nossa.